Welcome to the story. Don't forget to like, subscribe and support me. Jackson readjusted his neural interface helmet and leaned back in his chair. The familiar hum of Deep Space Legend enveloped him, and the world around him faded into the cool, metallic atmosphere of his starship's cockpit. The flicker of distant stars filled the screen as the game's system booted up, guiding him through the standard menus. This wasn't just a game to him anymore. It had become an escape, a world where he could push the limits of exploration and feel like more than just a regular guy sitting at a desk in a small apartment. He flexed his virtual hands, feeling the soft hum of the ship's engine through the controls. His character, Captain Jackson in game, was a decorated explorer, known for charting uninhabited worlds, uncovering alien technologies, and outsmarting enemy factions. His ship, the Starhound, had seen it all. But today felt different. There had been rumors in the forums, so whispers of strange encounters that weren't part of the official patch notes. Players vanishing, glitches in the game that led to hidden areas no one could explain. Ghost players. It sounded ridiculous, but curiosity had a way of pulling him deeper. Jackson keyed in the coordinates for a planet on the farthest edge of the galaxy map, a forgotten world, its data incomplete. Perfect for what he was looking for. The Starhound jumped into hyperspace, the starfield stretching into lines of light before collapsing into the stillness of deep space. As the ship dropped into orbit, Jackson scanned the surface. Desolate, silent. But there was something there. The sensors picked up an anomaly, an energy signature that shouldn't exist. He smirked to himself. Maybe those forum rumors were onto something. He descended, breaking through the thin atmosphere, landing on a plateau surrounded by jagged cliffs and dust-filled winds. Jackson disembarked, his avatar's boots crunching against the gravelly surface. The HUD in his helmet lit up with various indicators, but the anomaly stood out, a pulsing, bright blue dot in the distance. He started toward it, weaving between rocky outcrops and the ruins of ancient structures, relics of a forgotten alien race. As he approached the source, he saw them, 4 players, standing in a circle, their avatars dressed in high-level gear, far too advanced for the area. One of them, a woman with flowing silver hair and glowing armor, looked directly at him. For a moment, Jackson froze. There was something strange about the way they moved, it too smooth, too deliberate, like they weren't bound by the normal game physics. They didn't appear to be using any mods or hacks. It was something else. Turn back, one of the players, a tall figure cloaked in black, said in a voice that seemed to bypass the usual comms system. You don't belong here. Jackson narrowed his eyes, gripping the virtual rifle slung across his shoulder. Who are you? The woman with silver hair stepped forward. Her nameplate read Ala. You shouldn't have come. This isn't what it seems. Leave now, or you'll regret it. Before Jackson could respond, the group vanished in a shimmer of light, leaving behind nothing but the faint hum of energy dissipating into the air. He stood there, stunned. Players didn't just disappear like that, and not without using teleport mechanics that had cooldowns. He quickly scanned the area for traces of them but came up empty. Whoever they weren't playing by the same rules. Jackson's mind raced as he made his way back to the ship. He needed to dig deeper into this. He opened a private message to Kay, a friend he'd met in the game who was also an expert hacker. If anyone could figure out what was going on, it was Kai. By the time Jackson reached his ship, Kai had already responded. You sure about this? There's nothing in the game's code that should allow players to act like that. I'm telling you, I saw it, Jackson replied. They disappeared without using any of the normal systems. It's like they have some kind of admin access or something. Kai was silent for a moment before sending another message. I'll see what I can find. Meet me at the outpost in Sector 7. I've got a few ideas. Jackson set a course for the outpost, a neutral zone in the game where players could gather, trade, and chat without the risk of PvP combat. It was as close to a social hub as the game got, and it was also where some of the best hackers and modders gathered. If there was a way to access hidden parts of the game, This was the place to find it. When he arrived, Kai was waiting, his avatar leaning against the railing of the station's observation deck. Kai's avatar was as low-key as ever, a simple leather jacket and cargo pants, but Jackson knew better than to underestimate him. "You're not going to like this," Kai said as Jackson approached. "Try me." I dug into the game's back end, and there are parts of the code that aren't just encrypted, they're sealed off, like military-grade stuff. Whatever those players were doing, it's not something normal players can access. It's something built into the game, something the devs didn't put in the patch notes. Jackson's stomach twisted. "What do you mean, sealed off?" "I mean, this isn't a normal game anymore. It's like there's another layer, a layer we're not supposed to see." Jackson leaned over the railing, looking out at the endless expanse of digital space. "You think it's the devs messing with us? Some kind of ARG or secret event?" Kai shook his head. This is something else. I've been doing this for a long time, and I've never seen anything like it. It's almost like a broken bar. It wasn't made by humans." The words hung in the air, and for the first time since Jackson started playing Deep Space Legend, he felt a chill run down his spine. Jackson's thoughts swirled as he stared into the endless void of digital space. If Kai was right, then Deep Space Legend was far more than just a game. The idea of something not human being behind this sent a shiver through him. It didn't feel like an alternate reality game, or some kind of secret event. This was bigger. "We need more information," Jackson finally said, his voice steady. "If there's another layer to this game, we've got to figure out what it is and why it's here." Kai smirked. "Already ahead of you. There's a part of the code I couldn't crack, but I've got the lead." "The rumors about those ghost players, it goes back to a hidden sector. It's not on any official maps, and it doesn't show up in regular scans, but I'm willing to bet that's where we'll find more of them." Jackson's pulse quickened. This was the break he needed. "How do we get there?" Kai pulled up a star chart. "I've already found the coordinates. It's out in deep space, where most players wouldn't bother going. But if we follow this route, we can slip past the game's usual boundaries and access the sector." Without hesitation, Jackson keyed in the coordinates and jumped back into his ship. The engines of the Starhound roared to life, and in minutes, they were blasting into the blackness of space, leaving the outpost far behind. The stars blurred into streaks as they jumped into hyperspace, the ship's systems humming as they hurtled toward the unknown. Kai patched into the comms from his own ship. "You ready for whatever's out there?" Jackson tightened his grip on the controls. "Ready as I'll ever be." They emerged from hyperspace in an uncharted zone of the galaxy, the in-game map showing nothing but blank space. No planets, no stations, just a void. But in the distance, something flickered. A faint glimmer, like a pulse of light hidden behind layers of shadow. "There," Jackson said, angling the ship toward the source. "That's got to be it." As they approached, the flicker resolved into a massive structure, an ancient space station, unlike anything in the known game world. Its surface was sleek, black, and reflective, with strange geometric patterns that glowed faintly. The station didn't belong to any of the factions in Deep Space Legend. It looked alien, almost organic, as if it had been grown rather than built. Kai whistled over the comms. "That's not in the game's design. This is something else. Something a broken bar off." Jackson brought the Starhound in closer, scanning the station. "No life signs, no activity. It's just a broken bar there." The ship's systems gave no clear readings, but the energy signature was undeniable. This was the anomaly, the place where the mysterious players had come from. He could feel it. "Let's dock," Jackson said, guiding the ship toward a docking port that opened automatically as they approached, as if the station was inviting them in. The airlock hissed as Jackson stepped onto the station's surface. The inside was even stranger than the outside. The walls were covered in shimmering patterns that shifted and changed as he moved, and the air had a faint hum, like the low-frequency vibration of some unseen machine. Kai joined him, his avatar scanning the surroundings. "This doesn't feel like any game asset I've ever seen. It's too a broken bar real." Jackson approached a console that lit up as he neared. Strange symbols danced across the screen, but after a moment, they morphed into English. "Welcome, subject." Jackson froze, reading the words again. "Subject?" That was no typical game greeting. Kai stepped up beside him, his eyes wide. "Subject? These a broken bar. This isn't just a game, Jackson. It's some kind of experiment." The realization hit Jackson like a punch to the gut. The players were test subjects. But for what? And why? Before he could respond, a voice echoed through the station, soft but commanding. "You've come far, human. But this is only the beginning." Jackson spun around, his hand instinctively reaching for his rifle, but there was no one there. The voice wasn't coming from a player, it was from the station itself. "Who are you?" Jackson demanded. "What is this place?" The voice responded calmly. "This is a proving ground. Your species has been chosen for observation. The simulation you call Deep Space Legend is more than a game. It is a tool, an arena in which we test your capabilities." Kai cursed under his breath. "This whole thing a broken bar, it's been a setup." The voice continued. "You and the others were selected based on your potential. Your actions in the game have determined your worth. We have been watching." Jackson's mind raced. "So, what are we? Lab rats in some alien experiment?" "Not lab rats," the voice corrected. "Candidates. The most capable of your kind are given the chance to prove their value. Some have passed the tests and been granted power. Others have failed and been discarded." Ali's words flashed through Jackson's mind. This isn't just a game. She'd known. The mysterious players, were they the ones who had passed the tests? Had they been given powers beyond the game's normal limits because of it? "What do you want from us?" Jackson asked, his voice tense. "We want to see if your species is worthy of joining us," the voice replied. "We are the Voranax. Our civilization spans galaxies, and we seek allies who can match our intellect and abilities. But only the strongest, the most resourceful, will be chosen." Kai looked at Jackson, fear and excitement warring in his expression. "If we're not worthy?" The voice didn't hesitate. "Then you will be eliminated." Jackson's heart pounded in his chest. This was more than he bargained for. The game, the mysterious players, the alien station, it was all part of a larger test, one that determined the fate of everyone involved. But Jackson wasn't about to back down. If they wanted a test, he'd give them one. "What do we have to do?" The console lit up again, displaying a series of symbols that quickly transformed into familiar shape as puzzles, combat challenges, strategy simulations, each one more complex than the last. "You will face trials," the voice said. "Prove your worth, and you may survive. Fail, and you will be erased." Jackson glanced at Kai. "You in?" Kai grinned. "Always." They stepped forward, ready to face the unknown. The first trial appeared before them, an arena filled with mechanical drones, each one armed with advanced weaponry. Jackson's HUD flared to life, displaying his health and ammo reserves. This was no ordinary in-game challenge. The difficulty had been cranked up to a level far beyond what they'd ever encountered before. The drones activated, their glowing red eyes locking onto Jackson and Kai as they darted across the arena. Jackson fired, his shots precise and calculated, but the drones were fast, moving with inhuman agility. He barely dodged a laser blast aimed at his head, diving behind a barrier. Kai hacked into the arena's systems, trying to disable the drone's targeting, but the AI was too advanced, adapting to every move they made. "This is insane!" Kai shouted, ducking under a volley of missiles. Jackson gritted his teeth, firing back with everything he had. "We've got to keep going." For what felt like hours, they fought, pushing themselves to the limit. But slowly, they began to gain the upper hand. The drone's movements became more predictable, their patterns easier to read. Jackson and Kai worked in perfect sync, their combined skills making them a formidable force. Finally, the last drone fell, its metal shell collapsing in a heap of sparks. The arena dissolved around them, and the voice returned. "Impressive. You have passed the first trial. But there is more to come." Jackson wiped the sweat from his brow. "We're ready." The station shifted, the walls sliding away to reveal a massive chamber filled with puzzles, each one more intricate and complex than the last. It was a test of intellect, strategy, and teamwork. They worked through the puzzles with determination, solving one after the other, the challenges growing increasingly difficult. Every time they succeeded, the station adjusted, creating new obstacles to test them. Hours passed, but Jackson refused to give up. He could feel the weight of the Vornix's gaze upon him, watching, judging. He wouldn't let them win, he wouldn't let them decide his fate. When the final puzzle was completed, the voice returned. "You have proven your resourcefulness. Your species has potential. But there is one last trial." The ground beneath them shifted, and they found themselves standing on the edge of a massive chasm, a dark, swirling void at the center. In the middle of the void stood a figureala. She looked at Jackson with a mix of sorrow and determination. "I warned you. Now you must face me." Jackson's heart sank. Ala wasn't just another player. She was the final test,